This is Real Estate 360. I'm your host, Steve Vazza. I have the pleasure of welcoming my friend and colleague, JP Plunkett from Red Dome Commercial Real Estate, and Jim Cassetta from FM&M Management. Nice to have you gentlemen on the show today.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Pleasure to be here.
Well, some exciting things are happening. You know, not only is it a great time to be in real estate here in Boston, but you guys have formed sort of a strategic alliance that's really going to be a trendsetter for you guys. You know,
very unique in the industry. We've been involved with FM&M for over 35 years, and FM&M is very unique in and of itself, in that it's owned by Work Inc., which is a nonprofit. Work Inc. owns 100% of the stock, and I'll have JP explain how serendipitous it was when he and I actually met for a totally different subject. But as a result of that, we formed a strategic alliance whereby FM&M manages now about 11 million square feet of property.
Right.
A lot of public bids.
Sure.
We want to break into the private commercial market.
And I've known JP now for 30 years, and certainly in our professional careers, you've really touched all the food groups, and you've got your own firm. You've had it for many years. I mean, Red Dome is a leading real estate firm here in Boston, and I think it's just a really, really exciting and interesting concept that you guys have come up with.
So we think so as well. We appreciate you saying that. Red Dome spun out of my previous career with Cushman & Wakefield and NAI Hunneman, two full-service firms where I was a broker selling and leasing commercial properties. But we always had divisions that managed and operated properties. So I've had some exposure to it. I knew when we started Red Dome 3+ years now, wow, time flies, that I would like the chance to offer those services to our clients. And serendipitously, as Jim mentioned, we met, and we can get into how a little bit, but they don't do any brokerage. We don't do any management. So fusing our services together now provides private clients. You mentioned they're very active in the government sector. They manage the Moakley Courthouse, the JFK Library, the Rose Kennedy Greenway, et cetera, et cetera. But now, through Red Dome's strategic alliance, they're going to be able to offer these services to the private owners of real estate, whether it's an office building, an industrial.
So it's really
campus.
one-stop shopping.
Exactly. No different
really
than the JLLs and the C&Ws of the world offer. Sales and leasing, along with facilities management, we now have it under the same roof, but more local and entrepreneurial. And it's just fantastic so far.
So how did you guys meet up? You've known each other for quite a while.
I got a cold call from JP.
He's good at that.
which I really don't even take, but I took this particular call. It was very interesting because JP, I had no idea what JP did in his professional life, but in his volunteer life, and I'll have him elaborate on it, he manages the Milton Challenger League. And when you're in a Challenger League, you're managing young adults, young children with special needs, and he, at the end of the day, when children like that turn 22, the support from the local school systems diminish and disappear, and that's where my other company, Work Inc., comes into play. I'll have JP sort of elaborate on the rest of that.
So about 6 years ago, my wife and I started a baseball team in Milton for children with various intellectual and physical disabilities. It's called the Challenger Team. It's been so fun for everybody, the players, their parents, the volunteers. One thing we learned...
And are these all young kids?
They range from 4 years old up through 22.
Wow.
Most of them are teenagers, but that's the range. And something that we learned along the way was that once these kids get out of high school, out of the public high school that they're enrolled in, and this is a problem across the country, there's nothing for them. There's no more services.
No support.
Or very, very little support. So just happened to read about Work Inc., who puts adults with various disabilities to work. Not at all a charity, actually paying jobs. Figured, wouldn't that be nice if they came down and spoke to the parents of some of our older players?
Sure, yeah. A great idea.
And that's actually happening on June 3rd, by the way, at Shields Park in Milton. Parents are all excited. But through that conversation, Jim and I just really hit it off. A lot of good conversation and laughs. And we got to realizing, wait a minute, our core businesses are so synergistic.
I was going to say, there's a synergy there.
JP selling and leasing commercial properties, Jim's team managing the facilities. wow, why don't we think about ways to do business together? So what happened as, sort of a nonprofit volunteer discussion, and that's the most important part of all this, we can't stress.
Right.
Wow, here we go. Jim has two businesses, the Work Inc. and the FM&M. So here you go. It's just one of those, knock on wood, great things that everybody wins.
So as I understand it, obviously you're in the leasing and the investment sales, space. You'll come along, let's say a tenant like myself or an investor, I buy a building. One of the beauties of it is that, you can bring me properties, and along with that package, I can also have Jim's firm or,
Right.
provide all the management services.
That's exactly
Which
right.
is really a no-brainer for a
Right.
developer investor
Exactly.
like myself.
So now when we're listing a property, whether it's to lease it or to sell it, we can say to the owner of that property, consider us for snow plowing, landscaping, janitorial, systems maintenance. We can do your accounting and bill paying. Really a one-stop shop. It's not just sales and leasing, it's the 5 or 6 other services that are very ancillary to that.
Yeah.
Again, no different than what the bigger firms are doing. They've been doing it for years, and it's just a 1 plus 1 equals 3.
Just speaking from my own, personal experience, as an investor and a landlord, I mean, that just makes life so much easier when you're able to, sort of, I call it the one-stop shopping,
Right.
and you've got somebody that, a firm that has the amount of experience that you do. You said 11 million square feet,
Sure.
under management. Again, I being in the real estate business, I certainly understand, the magnitude of 11 million square feet.
Could you talk about some of the projects that you
Sure.
folks?
I'd love to hear about it.
One of the differences is between us and another facility management enterprise. The uniqueness is that FM&M, the company that we're speaking about today, as I alluded to it earlier, 100% of its stock is owned by Work Inc. Any profits we derive from any contract with FM&M goes to the stockholders.
Understood.
And we're not fussy stockholders because I'm the president of both companies, so we can really price things, I think, a lot more competitively than other firms.
Right.
We will not sacrifice on quality. You guys know this better than I in terms of the real estate industry. We're Sims Gold, we're Sims Green Building Lead. Only 5% of companies in this country achieve that type of Sims, Certified Industry Management Specialist certification.
That's incredible.
5%. FM&M is
Is
one of 5%.
And Jim, one of the benefits that a landlord also derives, and I'm thinking more. I understand if you've got tenants in the building and the benefits to that, but somebody, let's say like myself, okay, where I might have one property, your buying power, okay,
Good point.
The buying power because of your scale is just such an value-added part of what you bring to the table.
Absolutely.
It's tremendous.
This morning, serendipitously,
Yeah.
I was meeting with our vice president in charge of my public contracts, and we totally manage the John F. Kennedy Library. There were over 320 events there a year.
Mm-hmm.
They just had the big event Sunday night for profiles and coverage.
Yep.
We do event setup, event breakdown. The only thing we don't do there is security and food. Everything else is done. Landscaping, snow removal, custodial, emergency on-call services. That's what we bring to the table, and we have in-depth experience and good talent to bring it to the commercial sector. And that's one of the
And from our perspective, we feel as though this gets us into the business overnight. We don't have to slowly scale up. We now fuse together with the best of the best so
It's a
that
great alliance.
our clients and our new clients get the benefit of a group that's been doing this every day, all day at the highest level for 30 years. So it's just it's a blast to have another arrow in the quiver.
Absolutely. Well, let me change gears for a moment. Let's talk about the real estate market and how you're seeing things these days.
Sure. Well, the fun ride continues, and I think the difference between 2018, or let's call it 2015 through 2018, and I don't see any real end in sight. I think things are great. Right now,
I personally share your optimism.
I mean that sincerely, and here's why I feel that way. We're hitting all sorts of singles and doubles. Sure, we get lucky with a triple or a home run every now and then, but the market is very healthy with small to medium businesses that are starting, that are growing, that are financed in a healthy fashion. There's no hocus pocus in the market this time around. It's a very fundamentally sound marketplace from an office, from an industrial, and from a retail perspective. So unlike I got into this business in 1993. One of my first assignments was when you folks hired me to market 400 Crown Colony. So I've been lucky enough to see 3 or 4 cycles. The first 2 or 3 were really characterized by just big, fancy headline deals. And the behind the scenes singles and doubles, they really weren't there.
Yeah.
It was all a lot of style without a lot of substance. I like this market, and I think this market has better legs and staying power because of the basics that are in place.
There are some solid fundamentals at play. You know, I talk to business owners, you know, all the time. You know, we have the pleasure of having them, you know, on the set here. You know, we talk. The fundamentals, the optimism in the market. You know, our tenants. You know, we've got the shared office link. You know, we're 100% occupied in this particular one. I mean, it's just the amount of companies that are coming in saying, you know, we're new. You know, or we're growing. We have one, you know, actually in our Chelmsford building, which I was talking to you a little about earlier, we're actually seeing companies that start as tenants in the shared office space that are actually either growing into some existing space that we have in the building, or they're actually in a short period of time outgrowing the space and out looking for new larger space in the market. So that in and of itself is sort of a microcosm of what's happening in the economy at large. You know,
and we're equally as excited as you gentlemen are,
right?
Because it opens up a brand new line of business for FM&M. We were established in 1987.
Okay.
And we've been doing mostly public government, cities and towns, school systems, contracts with the Commonwealth of Mass, state. With the strategic alliance with Red Dome, now we're looking very excited about breaking into the private commercial market, and we bring a lot of talent to the table.
Now, do you gentlemen, you know, JP? I know that you've primarily, you grew up in Milton. You're in your office is in the Dorchester area. I mean, do you see this as something that you're going to scale beyond the local?
Sure.
You know, talk to me about the demographic and the
very
mindset.
good question. Yeah. So we're about to knock wood, get some great business at an industrial park on the South Boston Dorchester line. So couldn't be any more local.
Yep.
Knock on wood, we think late summer, early fall, we're going to be a strong candidate for 500,000 square feet in the Seaport and in East Boston. With some common ownership. So right now, it's very sort of local, but we talk about this all the time. We have a couple meetings lined up with the team. There's no question that radius is going to go to Braintree, Quincy, Dedham, Westwood, you know, down 495.
Yeah.
There's zero doubt about it.
It feels to me like it almost is going to grow organically, you know, because of, you know, the different professional aspects that each of you guys bring to the table.
Right.
It's just going to naturally continue to expand outward.
And our footprint goes as far west as Springfield, as far south as New Bedford, and we actually manage all the Navy facilities in every New England state.
Interesting.
So we could potentially scale this up to more than just Massachusetts.
That's fantastic. What a great opportunity. I mean, I think what you two gentlemen, bringing your firms together is just a great opportunity for especially clients like myself. I see such a need for this type of product in the market. So I compliment the two of you on your forward thinking.
Thank you, and not to diminish. It's quality first when we bid a job or when we look at a job. But at the end of the day, whatever's left on the table in terms of profit, it helps people who are challenged.
And it goes to the bottom line, and it helps
to the bottom line.
And
Exactly.
it helps the challenged kids, which is near and dear to my heart. I have a sister who's had some challenges, so I'm particularly sensitive to the need.
I've never met a person in my whole career that didn't have somebody close to them who have various barriers to employment or challenges. And at the end of the day, whatever money's left on the table, that's what it helps.
Fantastic. Great opportunity. Jim Cassetta, JP Plunkett, friends of mine, great businessmen, great opportunity.
Thank you.
Steve, thanks, pal.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you, gentlemen.